What is going on, Nuggets Nation NBA fans? My name is Tom Leuthner. Welcome back to another episode of Nuggets Today presented by Fan Arch. Before I want to go into any topics here, I just want to say I hope everybody is doing well. I know the world has been a little bit of a crazy place the last few days, so I hope everything is well for everybody in Colorado, especially strictly because of the school shooting that happened there. I hope everybody is safe watching this video, but I do want to hop into some topics more just free agency topics. The first move that was actually made by the Denver Nuggets affiliate, the Grand Rapids Gold, was trading for Moses Brown on their G League team. Now, I know Moses isn't this massive player, and this doesn't have immediate effect for the Denver Nuggets, but it can because now they have the first rights to this 7'2" young center. I believe he's 25, 26 years old, 7'5" wingspan, 7'2" body, good rim protector. He's had games where he's come into the NBA, and he's one of those guys who, in the beginning of the season, I was very high on, thought Denver should actually go out and get him with the limited cap they had pre-MPJ trade, but he's one of the guys who I thought that could have been a good fit for Denver. He does this every year. He gets signed by a team, gets his 10-day contract, maybe he gets signed for the remainder of the season, and he'll randomly have those games where he puts up 11 and 12. I believe one game he had 20, 12, like three blocks, three steals, two blocks, shoots 6 for 8, whatever the case may be. But he has those games, and do I think that Denver should bring him in, prioritize him? No. But do I think that if they did use the last roster spot on him as a bench center, it wouldn't be the worst option in the world? Now, I got into some conversations with some guys in a couple Nuggets groups today, and somebody brought up the fact that if he was to be brought in by Denver, he would have to play on a bench unit of Peyton Watson, Bruce Brown, and whoever else may be in that lineup, maybe Val. And they said the spacing isn't great. But then I thought about it, and if, let's say, Denver were to bring him in as the third string center, and maybe Val's out of the game, or he's coming in for those third center minutes, I think that David Adelman and this new coaching staff, especially guys like JJ Barea and Jared Dudley, are smart enough to make the rotation where he's playing with guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. He's playing with a guy like Cam Johnson staying with the second unit on the floor, a guy like Julian Strawther, maybe Jamal Murray. I think Deron Holmes, for that matter. I think they're smart enough to maybe put him with three other guys that can shoot. And listen, if you have a guy like Watson, who's not the best shooter in the world, and a guy like Brown on the floor, then it could work realistically because Watson he's expanding his game. Everything you see from Peyton Watson this offseason was the fact that he was shooting three-pointers. Now, I believe at the end of the season, he was still a below average three-point shooter, but not by much. And like I said, he's constantly working this offseason. His shot looks more fluid. And I think that he knows, and I think that Denver knows, this is his year to wake up offensively. And if he's not able to do that, there's a pretty high chance Denver moves on from him. Do I think they want to? No. But if you can't figure it out from him offensively, then he doesn't play the biggest role for the team because you can't put him out on the floor unless he's needed for defensive minutes. And he's a better player than that. He's a better player than a guy who's going to come in for the last 5 minutes defensively. He's a guy who you really need to step up and be that kind of player. So, like I said, going back to the whole Moses Brown, I would like him to see I would like to see him on Denver, but I'm also not going to be super mad if he's not there. He's probably going to dominate in the G League. Somebody's going to grab him for a 10-day, and maybe he finds his way onto an NBA team for this season. But who knows at this point of this, in the offseason, what's going to happen. I'm just happy that he's in the Nuggets system because the Nuggets do technically get first dibs to Moses Brown now. So maybe they bring in a third center and, we see what happens here. But this next topic I want to hop into is talking about centers. And another center that might be off the board is Kai Jones. Now, NBA Central posted that Cam Reddish actually and Kai Jones may both be ending their NBA careers to go play overseas. And another conversation I got into, I think that Kai Jones is a guy who's good enough to play on an NBA team. Now, the first team that came to my mind looking for a backup center was the Miami Heat, which I know they hosted him and nothing came of it. But I feel like there's so many contenders out there who could use a backup center like Kai Jones. I think that he's better than a majority of backup centers out there. Maybe not all of them. Obviously, you have your guys like Val. You have your guys like Brook Lopez. I'm probably missing names off the top of my head. Jalen Williams from the Thunder. I depending on what the Spurs do, Luke Cornett may be a backup big. But there are teams out there who can use a guy like this. I know that the Clippers could have last year, and obviously they pick up Brook Lopez, so that he's not needed this year. I think that he's better than Jackson Hayes, but the thing is, I don't think that he's willing to settle for a minimum. I think that he was looking for more because maybe he thought he proved enough. Proved enough in the market to go ahead and make more than that. But who really knows where his mindset's at? Maybe he pulls a Garshawn Yabusele where he goes and plays overseas for another year or two, comes back in his 26, 27-year-old season, 28-year-old season maybe, and is good enough to make another roster in the NBA. Like I said, he's another guy that I thought Denver should have brought in the beginning of the offseason, pre-MPJ trade, just because there wasn't enough money being dealt. But I'm very surprised that Kai Jones will not be on an NBA roster to start this offseason at this point. The next thing I want to talk about is another player that's off the market, somebody that I wanted Denver to bring in, but I do think there are options still out there, and that's what I'm going to hop into, I think, maybe next episode. But Landry Shamet is officially signing back with the New York Knicks, and I think that he was a guy that could have fit in Denver's system pretty well. I know that some people didn't think that it would have made sense bringing in a guy like Shamet, but I did like his style of play. I think that, like I've covered, something to me is I love watching a nice jumper, and I think that he is one of the cleanest jumpers I've ever watched. He's just a proven vet, a guy that's going to get you some minutes, especially if you get to the playoff run. He won't be the most impactful player in the world, but he's just a guy that can actually play the backup one, the backup two if you needed him to. Something that Denver is a little weak at right now, but I also am not too mad that Denver wasn't able to make a move to bring him in. But this last topic I want to cover is obviously a topic that Ryan Blackburn covered on his Twitter account today, or maybe yesterday at this point. And that is the fact that he believes that the 12th man on the Denver Nuggets, which I don't know if I fully agree or if I disagree. I really have to go down, sit down, look at exactly who fits where. But the 12th man on this Denver Nuggets team is going to be Zeke Naji, and that he might solidify a role in the in the rotation if he does, take a full-time power forward role if that is presented to him. And I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think that he's good enough to play. It's funny. You look back at, I believe it was the 21-22 season. He had a clean jump shot, and he was actually pretty good. And then since then, I guess Calvin Booth, maybe whoever was working on his shooting mechanics, sort of messed up his jump shot, and it all went downhill from there. And we never saw Zeke Naji actually play to what I guess Denver thought he could. You give him $8 million a year to be a non-impactful 10, 11, or 12, 11, 13th man. 12, 11, 10, whatever number you want to put him on the bench, where he's not impactful, he's never going to play. And I don't know if I want him to touch the floor this year. I'd rather see Duran, even though Duran's unproven, I'd rather see Duran get minutes over a guy like Zeke Naji. Like I said in my last episode, I'd rather them try to trade him for a guy like Oubre, which I know might not make sense. But I would take another vet over him, another vet like, I don't know if Kevin Love is brought in, let's say, Denver has interest. If Kevin Love is brought in, I'd rather see Kevin Love touch the floor before I see Zeke Naji at this point. I'm not high on him. Some people are. Some people are also high on Pickett. I'm also not too high on Pickett. But, if he's able to play at a higher level, then I guess so be it. And I will live with the fact that he will have to be a Denver Nuggets rotational player unless somebody else is brought in. Like I said, something I'll get into maybe in tomorrow's episode. But that's all I got for you guys today. I just want to get a brief episode out there for you guys. Thank you guys for checking it out. Like I said, I hope everybody's doing well, everybody is safe. Hit that like and subscribe button. I will catch you guys tomorrow.